Hi, everybody. I'm Amy.
And I'm Audrea.
This is the right crowd. So grab a cup of coffee
Or a cup of tea.
or maybe a little something on the rocks, and let's get started. Before we get started, I do want to mention, I thought of it this morning, that we had said that it would be like the next century before I ran out of coffee cups and that we wouldn't see any repeat coffee cups. But I want to bring everybody's attention to my background. I'm currently living in an RV. There's only so much space in an RV. So I literally have 3 coffee cups that I have allowed myself to keep. This is my favorite. So Hedgehog is one of them. So you'll see one of 3 over the next however long it takes us to build a house. So I just wanted to point that out in case somebody's going, wait a minute, I've seen that hedgehog. Yeah, you have. And you're going to see it a lot more. So.
Duly noted. You know, I was just thinking that your background almost looks like one of those virtual backgrounds that people can put because it's so cool. It looks so awesome.
It does kind of. No, those are really my paper towels. That is really my my convention. What's it called? It's like a toaster oven, air fryer, like contraption thing. It's really mine. It's really, those are real lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a real dog that just sneezed.
It's your real dog.
Okay. So all of that to say, welcome. We are starting our discussion on the 12-week year for writers.
Yes.
So how did you enjoy this book?
You know what? I really did like this book. I like it a lot. And I will be rereading the book. Actually, I started rereading the book while I was reading the book. It probably sounds funny. But yeah, I went back to start from the beginning. And I really like the book and the concept. Now you read, so this one is the 12-week year for writers by Trevor Thrall. And you read the original 12-week year, correct? By Brian Moran, and I can't remember the other author's name, but.
Yep, I think it's actually Michael Lennington. Is he the same guy from the other one?
Yep.
Yeah, I did. And what I will say is that I remember when I was reading that, I was like, okay, this is all well and good, but how does that work with writing? Like, how do I break it down for writing? So I was really excited when this one came out. And with the other one, when he's like, okay, sit down and write because there's a part in here, I did the work while I read the book. There's a part where he says, okay, write out what your week would look like. And you can't really go past that if you don't, you won't really get it if you don't do some of the work. So I remember stopping, and I was stopped at that spot for months because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I had to kind of try to figure out. So when I saw this, and I got this as part of Barnes and Noble, all hardbacks were 50% off around Christmas.
Oh.
So I gave Randy Barnes and Noble money for Christmas. And we went, and he insisted that I find something because he wasn't going to spend all that on himself. And I'm like, well, that's kind of the point of the gift. He's like, no, you have to pick something. So I found this. So I got it for 50% off. But I didn't even know it existed until I saw it on the shelf. So I was super excited.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool.
Yep.
Well, I had not heard of it until you mentioned it. And so, yeah, I really like the book, and I'm glad you mentioned it. And actually, Amy and I have decided to do the 12-week year for writers as our system for this year. And so she and I are accountability partners for each other, as you know, for a number of different things. And we'll be using this process or the system through the year. So you'll hear more about it as the year goes on.
Yes, and we'll do a follow-up video in 12 to 15, however it works out with our other books, follow-up video on how we did. And knowing that we're going to have to do that will keep us accountable to actually doing it. because you can't really say you're going to do it and then come up with a video and be like, yeah, nah, I didn't get past week 2. Like, we're going to have to do it. So yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. Alrighty. Anything else you want to say before we jump in?
Nope.
Cool. All right. What I was enjoying this book so much and getting so much out of it. Okay. I'm a book nerd. Okay. I had a goal this year of reading 100 books for the year. I've never really made a reading goal before. And I generally, without thinking, I do keep track of the books I read. I generally, without thinking, read 50 to 60 a year, just offhandedly. I've already read 20 books so far this year.
And it's only February.
Only February. And I was reading this and enjoying it. And I was just reading it like I'm reading my other books. And then I was multiple times, I had to stop and go, wait, you have to talk about this book. You got to go back and read what you just read. So you know, so you have something to talk about. So I too reread the book because I was like, oh, wait, where's my pen? I got to write stuff down. So yeah, so this, I really hope you guys, all 15 of you that watched the video, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this as much as we did, because we really did enjoy it.
All right. So let's dive into, unless there's anything in the foreword, let's dive into chapter 1.
Well, let's see. Nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. Nope. Oh, I do like that before he starts, he gives you a list of action items. Yeah. And then the page that corresponds with it. So if you're in the middle of doing something and you're like, oh, I needed to write my vision. What page was that on? It's on page 44. So you're able to go back without trying to scan the book and find a word that pops out at you that reminds you of where you are. He's got the list before he even starts. So I like that he did that.
And okay, that will make that will make this a good reference book as well. So you can, when you are going back to redo these things from year to year or every 12 weeks, when you need to put together different action items, you can use that.
And skipping ahead, I love that he does a 13th week to give you time to reflect and plan. And it's not, you don't just jump straight into your next 12. There's like a buffer week. Because, 12 times 4 is 48. You got 4 extra weeks there, and he uses them. And I like that.
That's cool. Yeah, that is very cool. I said, let's skip right to chapter 1. But, in the preface, he also, if you're picking this up on the bookshelf, in the bookstore, he gives you all the reasons why, or what the 12-week year for writers will do for you on page XI in the preface. It will help you identify and resolve problems in your writing more quickly by reviewing your performance on a weekly basis. It will help you to clarify your writing vision and increase the energy and motivation you bring to your writing, and a bunch of other things. And all of those things got me excited about reading the book. I mean, we all need all those things. I want to be more productive. I want to get things done in quicker. I want, and I really like this, create a healthy sense of urgency. I always have, in case you guys don't know, I have an unhealthy sense of urgency all the time. So that's really attractive to me, is cultivating a healthy sense of urgency. All right. I'm sorry. All right. Now, chapter 1, in section 1, where he also talks about why you need a writing system. So why do you need a writing system, Amy?
For me, it's actually 2 of the things that he points out in that list is I, praise Jesus, do not suffer from anxiety. That is not an issue for me. However, any kind of stress or anxiety I might feel in a moment is reduced when I have things planned out. When I know, okay, I have 50 things to do, but I only need to concentrate on 2 of them right now. And that's what this system does, is it helps you say, okay, I've got all these things, but these are the ones that I need to focus on right now. So it does it. Oh my gosh, when am I going to get time to do this other thing? It's already in the plan. It's down there. Don't worry about it. You're not there yet.
Yes.
And I like that, that's what this system does. And it actually says at the bottom of page 3, figuring out how to do this while staying sane and living a happy life is even more important. So stay sane and live a happy life by scheduling out your writing.
Exactly so. And for
what
me,
about you?
Yeah, for me, it's the lack of focus and I'm always looking for ways to increase my productivity. Actually, I don't remember where it is in the book. It may be, he mentions that he read Stephen Covey's The Habits of Highly Successful People. And I read that back in college or high school. And so I've read these productivity books on and off throughout my careers in school. And I take things from each of them, and I've incorporated things from each of them. And as we go through this book, we'll find out some of the things that we are already doing. I mean, because, when it comes to these productivity books, there's not a lot of new stuff, but sometimes the way they put it together might tick a box for you, or might, for those of you out there, this system might work for you where other systems didn't, just because of the way it's put together, or maybe if you're like me, you have a short attention span. So some of the things that they've added to the system, the original 12-week year and this version of it will be helpful. So that's why I needed the system, or wanted to.
It's very similar to having a Kanban board and the task blocks that are taught in the HB90 program. It's very similar to that, where it's like, how much time do you have and what needs to go in that space?
Exactly. I did that. Look, I will show you. Spoiler alert. It's not really a spoiler alert. I gave it, it's a gold star for time blocking. It's a yellow star.
We'll call it a gold star. It's okay. Add a little glitter, it'll be fine.
And for any of you who are writing or aspiring writers, and you have a full-time job, this section will resonate for you, because I highlighted at the bottom of page 6, asking your brain to deliver too high a level for too long turns out to be a great recipe for writer's block. So if those of you who might be suffering from what people term as writer's block, whatever that means to you, that for me, that resonated, because I'm in my daytime job, a full-time project manager. And that's a lot of managing. And I mean, it's 40 to 60 hours, usually 60 hours a week of high performance, trying to get things done. And then I'm trying to also write and trying to crush that in my off time, which means if you're crushing in your day job, and you're crushing for your other job, there's no downtime. So a system that will help to deliver in what I want to deliver, the career in writing with sanity, that was appealing to me. And I also like, in the same section he writes, because I'm, as you guys can tell from many of these videos, Audrea might have an attention deficit problem. Oh, look, squirrel. He writes, shiny new apps won't solve the problem. So I thought that was funny, because I love apps. But you always think the app is going to solve it for you, but it's actually doing the work of whatever system and sticking with it that will give you results.
Yeah, it's the implementation. We can have all the apps in the world, but if you aren't doing the work, the app does nothing. Like, you have to have a system to get the work done. Plus, at that, he also says, where individual apps, I'm on page 10, where individual apps focus on a small piece of the overall picture, the 12-week year pushes you to think strategically so that you can answer the most fundamental questions about your writing. Good stuff. So,
All right, so moving on. Here, this is the funny part. On page 13, which I've got tabbed in, I've got a highlight in there. I'm using my fun mild liner gray for this book. And also the mild liner canary or yikes yellow. I call it yikes yellow. But he says if you are new to the 12-week year, he says that you'll learn everything you need to know about the system and how to apply it to writing in this book. But if you want to go deeper, if you want a different perspective, you can go back and read that other book. And at that point, when I was reading this book, I said, okay, well, I'll go read the other book too. So
have you started it?
I did. I went and started reading the book. So I was reading both books at the same time for this period, which I love the other book. The other book is awesome too. Lots of great examples in that other book, but it's basically the same thing. This one just applies it to writing, which is really cool. I really like this one.
Yep.
All right, cool. Moving on to chapter 2.
Oh, well, hang on a second. If you like, I should probably show what I'm using. I mean, I've got my friction highlighter.
Oh,
which
nice.
By the way, is erasable, an erasable highlighter. And I am using a couple of different colors, but this is one of my favorite pens. It's the Inner Gel from Pentel. They've got like, I don't know how many colors. I have them all.
That's the one I was using.
What color is yours?
This is the Inner Gel. This one is the 7 mil. This is black.
Black. I've got like the navy blue one.
The navy blue one? Okay.
Yeah. But I like these so much that when I run out, I actually have bought packs of the refills. And I just have refills for them.
I didn't know they had refills. That's a great, I have to go look for those.
Amazon.
All right, back to chapter 2.
Because we could talk about pens all day long. You don't want to get us started on that? Okay. Chapter 2, 12-week year, your strategic operating system for writing. So what did you find in this chapter?
Okay, so
I've got lots of highlights.
I felt heard and I felt confronted in this chapter. Because
I think everyone's going to feel a little confronted in this chapter.
Yeah, the whole idea about this is where you're starting to throw off the shackles of annualized thinking, which we all have been doing our entire lives. The whole idea of cramming everything into the last minute. Apparently that's not a system. Who knew? I thought, if you set a goal, working. I know you set a goal for the year and you dum for most of the year. And then at the last minute, Q3, the end of Q3, you realize you're not going to meet those goals. And then you cram everything into Q4. I mean, the last 3 months of the year, basically, or the last.
Hey, is there a planner that does just 3 months at a time?
Yes, lots of them, actually.
That could be a problem for me.
Oh no.
Okay, that's a different conversation. All right, go ahead.
All right, so when his quote on page 17, I pulled it out as a quote. When people make plans based around annual goals, they unwittingly drain the motivation and focus from most of the year. And that's true. Like I said, you just for most of the year, getting some of the things done, making a little progress, putting it off because you've got plenty of time until you have no time. So.
Yep. He says, annual thinking is poisonous to productivity. And focusing our attention at the annual level, annual plans rob us of the urgency that consistent productivity requires. Annual thinking also prevents us from focusing on the actual steps we need to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, we're like, we got plenty of time. Oh crap, is that next week?
Yeah.
And then you start making the excuses as to why you need more time because time got away from you, right? Because you didn't plan right. Or maybe you did plan right, but because it was so far off, there's no urgency there.
So yeah, the solution for that is to shorten the year. And you say that, and then my brain is like, well, how do you shorten the year? Because years is 12 months, it's 52 weeks. That's how long a year is. So you have to read more because you're only on page 18 at that point. So read more to find out. All right, so then he breaks down the fundamentals of the 12-week year starting on page 20.
Oh, one thing that it does is it helps you define what's important for you to do now, today. Like that's how this helps, is it's what today has to get done for that thing to get done.
Yes, which is a great concept. And a lot of planners do that. And there's a book that you've read that I have in my Kindle. I've not read yet, The One Thing.
Oh my gosh, best book ever.
Yeah.
Sorry, Trevor. The One Thing is the best book ever.
So some of that is here, is that focus on the one thing that'll move you forward in your writing career is part of the exercises that you go through to make all of your plans. All right, so when he gets to breaking down the fundamentals, putting the system to work, and as always, we want you to go buy the book. These videos are not shortcutting the author, but you're crafting the vision. That's not new, but you need the vision. And some people say that visioning is, it's too woo-woo, but it's like, I'm sorry, people use the same example over and over again, but it's like getting in the car and head to Disney World. To head to Disney World without a map or a plan. Yeah. I'm going to get in the car. I'm up in Alaska or South Dakota. I'm going to get in the car and head to Disney World with no plan. I mean, you have to have that vision of where you're going and when you want to be there and all that stuff. But anyway.
Yeah, just saying you're going to keep heading south and east doesn't work.
Yeah. So the vision of where you want to end up and why and all that stuff is part of crafting that vision. So then you can break it down and do the next step of creating your 12-week plan, which he just gives you an overview here in chapter 2. He just gives you an overview of what the 12-week system is, so that as you move through the book, he goes in depth into each of these. And that, I skipped over 3. I really like when we get to this chapter of the book, or the aligning your time with your the working your plan. I got a lot out of that particular chapter, but in step 4 that he mentions here on page 22, the first tool is your weekly plan, and the second tool is your weekly scorekeeping. The scorekeeping was key for me. I think that is what, for me, a person who doesn't have a lot of focus, the scorekeeping was super helpful.
And that was the part that went whoop right over my head.
That's why you're laughing.
That's why I'm laughing, because I'm like, I knew it'd be good for somebody.
So for those of you, okay, I'm just talking to those of you who might have attention deficit disorder, or maybe you just like to competition, but scoring your week is a cool thing. And we talked a little bit about that when we did our planner review. And
you have the book that does the scorekeeping.
Does the scorekeeping. So I'm super excited.
Which I think is super cool. I like the gamifying it, but the way he does it in here was like, I can't, no, just, did I do it? Yes. Like, and what's funny is I actually looked at that journal and I had to stop myself, because I was like, Amy, you do not need another thing to keep track of. Step away.
Yes.
But it might be something I use for next year.
All right. So anything more about the different steps as we move through chapter 2?
I do want to, even though, step 5 was embracing the writer's mindset. Mm-hmm. So let's not forget that. But going back to the scorekeeping, I do like that he points out that measurement drives every execution system, and that effective measurement provides the feedback necessary to stay on track and hit your goals. So even if you're like me and this scorekeeping, it's going to take me a hot minute. Still keeping track of what you're doing, like the tracker I have in my bullet journal. I'm keeping track my way. So if his scorekeeping, it doesn't work for you, find some way to make sure you're keeping track of it. Because if you're not keeping track of it, you don't know if you're on target. You don't know if you're falling behind. You don't know if maybe you can take on more because what you thought was going to take so many minutes actually doesn't take as long as you thought. Mm-hmm. Like keeping track of it helps you in all the ways. So even if this doesn't work for you, find something that works so that you can track it.
Adapt. Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't want to skip, I don't want to start a list and not finish it. So I should probably, so step 1 was crafting your writing vision. Step 2 is creating your 12-week plan. Step 3 is aligning your time with the work in your plan. Step 4 is managing your writing process with the weekly execution routine that he outlines. And there's lots of tools in there, and I've highlighted all the tools on my book. And then step 5 is embracing the writer's mindset. All right. And
for some people, mindset may even sound kind of woo-woo, but just give it and I'm not into woo-woo, but give it a minute. It's valid.
I'm kind of woo-woo.
Yeah.
A little woo-woo.
You and I are yin and yang. We really are.
All right. So next is chapter 3 is crafting your writing vision. So we talked about how that was part of those processes. So now we're going to that is the actual chapter where you start to craft the vision. And it gives you some examples of how to do that and why to do it. He talks about long-term aspirational vision, which you should have. And then near-term, midterm. Does he do midterm? We do midterm at work, but near-term. And then your near-term vision is roughly 1 to 3 years into the future.
Can I go back real quick?
Yep.
So at the end of chapter 2, he gives you the writer's map.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a table of a couple of pages of the what, the why, the when, the how, and then where you're going to find it in the book. So like the first one is crafting your vision. He gives you 6 points as to why it's important. 3 points as to when you're going to look at it, what you're going to do with it. 4 points as to how it's going to work for you. And then he tells you where to find the vision in the book, like what chapter it's in. So he does that for all of the pieces. So if you're ever trying to figure out specifics and you don't go back to that first page we showed you where he lists everything out, he's got a handy dandy little table that explains all the things.
I can't believe I skipped that. That is awesome. That is all the things that he lays that out for you. All right. So then the next is the crafting your writing vision. Oh, and there was all right. So another benefit of an effective vision, this is on the bottom of page 34, is that it will force you to decide between the good and the good, which I thought was funny because that's the problem that I have. Many of you may have. It's not between the good and the bad because that's an easy decision. It's between the good and the good. Well, that's also good. And that's good. And that, yeah.
Right before that line, he says, if you don't have a clear vision of where you want to go, there isn't a plan good enough to get you there.
Yes.
You got to know. You got to know what you want out of it. Because, I mean, honestly, if you don't know what you want out of it, why are you doing it? Is what I want to know. Because if there's not a real reason, you're not going to, it doesn't matter how good this book is and how well you plan everything out. If you don't have a reason for doing it and it's a reason that's good for you, you're not good. You won't do anything with it. It'll just become something else, another book you read, another great idea that you thought would work that never worked, but it's not because this didn't work. It's just because you didn't want it big enough.
All right.
That's coaching by Amy. Go ahead. Coaching
by Amy. All right. So the rest of this chapter is about creating that, how you can create your vision. So gives you action steps on crafting your vision. I don't want to skip any of the good. He has a nice little chart on your have, do, be. So how to step you through creating your vision. List everything you can think of that you want to have, to do, to be, to help you narrow it down and craft that vision. And
now you can write in the book, or he mentions a website in here where you can go to the website, and he's got a printout of everything. I actually printed out the weekly scorecard and the model week, so I can like look at it what it is. But you can also just make it yourself.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want to write in your book and you don't want to print something out, grab a piece of paper. I put mine in my bullet journal, so I have it for the year. Like it's all my stuff is in one place this year. So far, so good. But however you want to write it out, whatever works for you. Because I will highlight in a book, but I don't normally put personal stuff in a book just in case I ever like loan it out, or I finally get to the point where I like know it by heart and I can like donate it now. I don't put personal stuff in a book. So I knew I needed to do something different. I wasn't by the computer to print out anything. So I just wrote it in my journal. But I mean, whatever works for you, but make sure you do the steps. Like don't skip them. You don't get the full effect if you skip them.
That's right. All right. Do you want to share any of yours?
Oh, sure. Let me see. Okay, so something you guys will probably maybe like. A dream that Randy and I have is in 10 to 15 years, have a ranch in Wyoming or Montana, assuming the world hasn't exploded by then. And we want to have a dude rescue ranch where we have rescue animals and people can come and like play and do all the things. But we also want to have as part of that a coffee shop and a used bookstore. So that's like my dream. And Randy's like, oh, that would be cool. And my mom's like, I'll work. So it'll be a family affair. But that's something that I have under have, so that it's on my have part. But in order to have that, I have to be a best-selling writer in order to have the money to be able to afford to do that and run my little bake shop used bookstore, because they don't make money, by the way. But in order to be able to do that, I have to be able to bring the money in outside of my little used bookstore coffee shop. What about you?
Well, mine is the same as the not the same. I want to.
You're gonna have a dude ranch in Wyoming?
Yeah, I want to rescue dudes. Not.
No. Cows, horses, cats, dogs. That's where we're going.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No, the best-selling author. And in order to be a New York Times best-selling author, then there are the steps to get there. So that was one of them.
Yep.
All right. So you do all of the exercises in crafting your writing vision, and that takes you all the way up through chapter 4 is the next one. Once you've got your vision drafted out, now it's time to create your 12-week plan. And this is where the money is. And he gives a really great example. This is where we start chapter 4, creating your 12-week plan. And he uses go ahead.
I want to go back to page 43 real quick.
Oh, okay.
Because earlier I said, make sure you're doing this because you want to do it and that you make it work the way it works for you. He says, if you don't craft a vision that honors who you really are, you risk wasting years pursuing projects that aren't taking you where you want to go. So make sure that your vision and what you're coming up with is what you, the person on the other side of this video, wants to do. Or if you don't own it, you're less likely to do it. So that's all I wanted to say. You may continue.
No, I like how we pull out different quotes in the book. Like, I didn't even highlight that one. That's a really good one. That's super. All right. Why don't you take us through chapter 4?
Okay. He starts off with saying that your 12-week plan will form the bridge between where you stand today and your vision, and that your goals, strategically chosen, will lead you to your ultimate writing goal, but only if they're good ones. If you make poor choices, it's either not going to lead you where you wanted to go, or it's going to lead you to not in the same time frame that you wanted to be there. So make sure that when you're writing out your goals, that and you're placing them, that you do it the way it needs to be done. He also says that you should interrogate your own writing process on a regular basis. And I like that. And I like that you get to do that at the end of every 12 weeks. Like, you get to look back and say, okay, what worked, what didn't work? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to integrate into it? And he has a little handy dandy chart for you. That is an example of, he does an example of writing a book called Helping Writers Write, which actually sounds like a great book and someone needs to write that. But he uses that as an example for all of his things. So that's what he's done here, is he's written out all of the steps that he needs to do in order to write the book, Helping Writers Write. He also mentions that proper planning prevents poor performance. I'd like to add proper planning that you stick to. Because you can plan till the cows come home, but if you don't actually do it, it does nothing for you. So, let's see. He also points out that having a great plan will help you feel calmer and more collected, and it makes it easier for you to do your best work, which I can say that is true. And I kept thinking back, remember 55 years ago when we sat down and did the 3-week novel?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I kept thinking about that when I was reading this, because that weekend was probably the most productive I have been on any level, because I literally had sat down in those 3 days. Here's my time block for writing. Here's my time block for a break. Here's what I'm going to eat. Like, I was very specific about my time. And even Randy was in on it. I'd come downstairs and he was like, wait, are you supposed to be writing? What are you doing? Why are you down here? So like, he was even on to what my plan was supposed to be. But that, knowing what your plan is and executing it, is what gets you to where you need to go. And knowing that it is, I call it a living document. You can call it whatever you want to call it. If it's not working, change it.
Yeah.
Highlight, get a whiteout or an eraser, or however works for you, cross it out, whatever your process is, change it if it's not working for you. Don't stick to a bad system. So make sure it's working. He then goes into, he's got steps for creating your 12-week year. He starts with writing, chunk your writing project into 12-week goals. And then after every one of these steps, he gives you an action step. Don't skip these. Unless you're reading the book through and you're going to come back and do all the work. Mm-hmm. But in order to really do this, you need to do the work. So in my bullet journal, I actually did that. I wrote out my vision. I wrote out my future 15-year goals and then my 1 to 3 year goals. And because I'm coordinated, I have 3 different colors on my list because of all the stuff I have going on. And that way I knew when I was writing my writing plan that I just needed to look at the things that were in purple, because purple was writing. I didn't have to read through everything. So then I did out my vision, and then I did my writing chunks. These are all the things I needed to get done and how much time I thought it was going to take me to do them. So at the end of each one, he tells you, and again, gives you the chart to write it if you want to just write in the book. Mm-hmm. The next step is to determine the goals for your first 12 weeks. Make sure that they follow the SMART. He does it a little different, like the way he explains it, but basically it's the SMART goals. SMART goals. Specific, measurable, attainable. Is it relational? I forget what R is. And then T is timely. What's R?
Relatable.
Relatable. And then T is timely. So make sure that they are specific and measurable. He says to state each goal positively. Yep. So don't say, don't fall behind on chapter 1. You say, finish chapter 1 by June 1st. That's positive, that's specific, and it's measurable, and it's timely. Like, it's got almost all the things in there. His R is make it realistic, which could be the actual R. I never can remember R because there's so many things that could fit there. He said, make goals that push you to be productive while not stretching you beyond your limits. And this is the part where you might put a goal down and then realize it's just not going to happen and you have to change it. That's where this is going to come into play. Make sure that it's not stretching you to the point of you're so stressed about getting it done that you just don't do it. It kind of defeats the whole purpose. So make sure that they are realistic for you. Make sure you're willing to do the work. Don't write something down you aren't going to do, because then when you get to it, guess what? You're not going to do it. And then it's going to be stopped. So there will be things that need to get done that you don't want to do. Can you delegate them? Like, can you have someone else do it for you? Do you have a 10-year-old that can go through and do something mundane that doesn't really require a lot of brain power, but still needs to get done? Right? I'm in real estate. I have plenty of friends that have their 12-year-olds stamping and addressing labels for them. It needs to get done. Yeah. It's mundane. I got better things to do, especially in this current market, than stamping envelopes, but it still needs to get done. So some things you'll delegate, and that's okay. Just make sure it gets done. And they need to have a deadline, which is the time factor at the end. That's the T. Make sure it has a deadline. So his example was finish chapter 1 by June 1st. June 1st is his deadline for that specific item. And then he gives you the action step and gives you a little timetable again. The third one is to determine your tactics. Tactics, time blocks, they're both the same thing. And they emphasize the need to be strategic about your actions. So when I said this is kind of goes into the HB90 process with the task blocks that Sarah Cannon does. Say you have 3 hours that you know you've got 3 hours to get writing done every Monday. And that's all the time you've got. So to me, it's not a 3-hour block you have. You either have 3 1-hour blocks or 6 half-hour blocks. I forget what he says the study shows, but from what I've read in the past, you literally have 44 minutes of time where your brain will focus before it shuts off and it needs a break. So for me, my time blocks will either be half an hour or an hour. They'll never be longer than that because I need to get up and do something. Even if I'm just taking a load of clothes out of the laundry, or I'm giving the dogs a treat, or I'm going potty, whatever it is, get up, do something else. Not another writing thing, because now you're multitasking and you're switching your brain. And he'll go into that later. If you're trying to do a different writing thing at the same time that your brain's not gonna, it takes too long. You lose time switching from one task to the other. So make sure that whatever you stop and you do in between your time blocks or your tactics that he calls them, make sure it's not another writing thing. because your brain's going to go, oh, we're doing that now. And then you're going to try to come back and your brain's going, wait, where were we? You lose 8 minutes. It's another study from previous thing when I was coaching people about time blocking. You lose 8 minutes every time you stop a task and you start another one while you're still working through your tasks. So every time you try to switch, you're multitasking, you lose 8 minutes between each thing. I don't have that many 8-minute sections to lose in a day.
No.
I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but say you have 6 time blocks. That's 5 switches. 5 times 8 is 40. You've just lost almost an hour of thinking time. Wow. Don't have that kind of time. Yeah. So try not to, when you take a break, try not to switch to another writing task. Vacuum the house. That takes no brain power, right? You're not thinking about another plot. You might be thinking about what you were thinking about before, but don't switch to another writing thing because you lose time.
Wow. You broke that down beautifully. That is awesome. That is great. He needs to hire you. Mr. Thrall. Amy Song is available.
I actually used to have a job where I taught people how to time block their day. And so I learned a lot of stuff. But yeah, so moving on. Did you have anything to add for that?
No, I do not.
Was it too much?
No, it was great. It was awesome. So actually, let's go ahead and that was chapter 4. And let's go ahead and end it here because we are 44 minutes into this video.
Okay, guys. So we'll see you next week. Bye.
Oh, bye.